Hello, I'm Amelie Watts, but I would like to say, how do you feel that this can be feasible on a reasonable timescale, and how do you think you can promote this to the voters in a way that we can fully understand how this movement's going to go forward, rather than promoting it to people that might not necessarily understand it in the future?
Okay, thank you.
Lovely question. Well, it can happen very quickly because most of us live by these values. It's just trying to get these values inserted into the public space. So all of us can ask a politician when they give an uncompassionate response, where's the compassion? I'd like a more compassionate solution to this problem. Have you seen that there's suffering here? So all of us can start, one person at a time, to start spotting the need for compassion and to frame it as compassion. You know, not about a war of ideologies or a tug of war between one party manifesto and another, but this is about compassion. This is about who we are as humans. This is about ensuring that we are all okay. And this is what we want to see our politics do, and particularly for your generation, because we are leaving you with one hell of a mess. And one of the legislative changes that we're campaigning for in the UK is a Future Generations Act, so that parliamentarians now are obliged to consider what the impact of the decisions they make will be on the next generation. You know, there are two, I know, really tough issues that you're dealing with here. Why not involve everyone in the decision making? Why not have citizens' assemblies where everyone comes into the space and can really be educated and take the decisions collectively? Why put it all on a few politicians? There are other ways of making decisions that are far more inclusive and far more democratic. So start calling for those, educate yourselves, write letters, write emails, text, speak, phone, demand it.
Thank you.
Can I ask if any of the young people in the room have any comments on what you've heard? Because effectively we're talking about young people and you're actually here with us. Do you agree with the panel? How do you feel about it? Imogen, Mia? Mia, do you want to say something? And wait, if anybody else wants to say anything, stick your hand up and I'll come to you next.
I was on the...
I'll give your name first.
Oh, hello everyone. My name is Mia Edgworth, and I'm a Year 12 pupil at Ladies College. I was on the previous youth forum. I was the chair, and we did the youth states. And what I was giving the lead speech on was inclusion. And we had many states members come to watch us. But I think what the whole idea of this event, of it doesn't have to be this way, is largely the fact that states members need to feel included within the states. And I think that if the members listen to us, listen to the young people, they would realise that that is what it is, because we showed at the youth states that that is what we feel is the most important thing to us. So what can we do to encourage states members to really engage and listen to the youth voice?
I'd say just tell them how important your vote is. You've got an equal vote as anybody else who's puts their name on the electoral roll. And I think one thing I want to do between now and the next election is get as many young people on that register and voting. Because if you don't vote, your views are not heard, and then the states won't think about how important you are. And I think that has been a real problem over recent years. I think, and it's something we absolutely need to address for the future of Guernsey. It's not just the future of Guernsey; it's the future of its people, and that's what needs to be at the forefront of our mind.
Imogen, go on.
Imogen Bacon. I'm in Year 10 at the Ladies College. I think the point Mia made about not only getting the youth involved, but also getting deputies to then engage with the youth once they are involved. So, for example, obviously Mia spoke about the youth states debate, but there was, each youth forum has a term where they have a debate, and there's a debate that happened after that in September of last year. And I checked before this event, that's still not even up on the state's website. They have a list of all the debates they've had, and the debate, their last recorded debate for the youth state isn't our debate. It's a debate from a few years ago. We're not even there on the register. I mean, I wrote an article in the press about the fact that hardly any deputies showed up. But I think, obviously I understand, like you mentioned, you had a medical issue. So it's fine.
I can show you the scar if you like.
But I think it's making sure that if we have these youth programmes to get the youth involved, that the deputies do show up and that the youth feel that they've put a lot of effort in to these projects and that the deputies are listening and really trying to help make that change. And I think
You've got several deputies
Yeah.
in front of you. When is the next youth state?
we've not decided yet.
Do you have something on the 24th and 25th? Go on, right, we were going to come to the back. Let's give a microphone to our back row. When is your next youth state? Oh, they're in the middle, right. Can we have a microphone to the middle, please?
May I just say, while the microphone's going back, is that actually I know that there was a lot of work put in by deputies who came down to see the Youth Forum members, wasn't there? Because you had a debate on marijuana and the legalisation of marijuana. And it was an amazing debate because it was like watching Iraq flow in the water because the presiding officer allowed people more than one go to talk. And it was fascinating how the argument went backwards and forwards. And I know that John and Carl were there, and those of us that were there thought it was brilliant, absolutely amazing debate. And I do know that colleagues who weren't able to be there, some of them did come down and spend a long time with members who debated the day before. And I do know that if the more opportunities were provided for deputies to spend time with the Youth Forum and throughout schools, it would be happening, that we'd all jump at the chance to do it. It's just about getting on and facilitating it, really.
But we can, I mean, we're happy to do things if people are, so they're interested in politics. I mean, Mia knows a few of us went round the Royal Court building a few weeks ago, and really, I think, hopefully it was really helpful just seeing where we debate and going through the order paper and getting a feel of what it means there. And I think we're very happy to do that. I'm sure other deputies are as well.
Brilliant. Now, do you have something to say? Go on.
Hello, I'm Eva Redelinghuys. I'm also at Ladies. And kind of jumping back a bit to the calling out the bad behaviour, I know that quite a lot of young people get quite disengaged with politics because when you open your BBC News app, you'll know that you'll see another political scandal as opposed to political change. So what I wanted to talk about was how do we get... we've talked quite a lot about like reforming code of conduct and making sure people meet ethical standards. But how do we get politicians to make sure they themselves meet those ethical standards? Because intrinsic motivation is so much more powerful than getting external people to try and regulate and get the voters to try and call out people. So how do we get people themselves to make the right choice? Because that would be so much more powerful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the question was about bad behaviour. And I would hope that people understood what bad behaviour was. They wouldn't need training to understand. It's not great shouting at somebody in a room. It's not great having a mass walkout. It's not great doing other things to deputies to humiliate them. So for me, I think a big thing that we need to do is peer pressure and talking to each other and taking somebody aside and saying, that's not the way to do it. Well, how can we work around this and actually try and positively change people? Well, there are some of us who do that, who go off and say to people, you didn't need to do that. You know, what about doing things like this? Or, you know, we can't have this standoff. We've got to start working together. Hopefully that builds, but also what you're doing here today, everybody here having this session that's been put on, it says, yeah, it's not just some of those deputies in the States trying to improve things. This is what people really think is important. And I think that peer pressure, that the community saying you need to do it, we can get a groundswell of opinion. That's exactly what you're trying to do in the UK, Jennifer.